I truly loved the 8-year-old Nicole. I would give anything to meet the 48-year-old Nicole.
Welcome to Closer Look. It's Monday, the 8th day of September 2025. We're back for the official relaunch of Closer Look, and happy to be here.
Me too. The official relaunch, right? We've been toying away at this all summer, trying to get it perfect, and I think we're pretty close. It's September 8th. It's our official launch day. Closer Look is our revamped podcast, goes across the network every night at 7 o'clock. We're going to be talking about all kinds of different issues that impact people across Ontario and talking about big stories that are happening in our communities across the province. I've had a great time in the summer doing it. I think it's going to be awesome starting now.
All right. And we should mention closerlookpodcast.ca is the website. If you'd like to check that out, you can subscribe to our daily newsletters. We would love for you to do that. And follow us on YouTube, Closer Look Podcast. Okay, very important show this evening as we kick off and recognize a historic 40-year anniversary.
Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff we're going to talk about on this show. Everyone knows the name. I think a lot of people know the name Nicole Morin. She was a little girl, an 8-year-old girl who vanished from a West End Toronto apartment 40 years ago, July 30th, 1985. She was a year younger than me.
Right.
So she could have been in my elementary school. That's the same generation as me. She vanished. It triggered one of the biggest police investigations in Canadian history, definitely the biggest police investigation at the time for the Toronto Police. Yeah. And she literally vanished from thin air, Scott. There was never any physical evidence found of her disappearance. They canvassed that neighborhood for days and days. They set up a 20-person task force. I believe the number it's tens of thousands of man hours were put into this investigation and nothing. So it's been 40 years, and every anniversary, advocates, friends, the Toronto Police, they usually put together something that puts it back in the spotlight. Right. In this case, there's a new $50,000 reward from the Toronto Police Service for any information leading to Nicole's whereabouts. They also released an image of what they think she would look like today.
Yes,
which is very powerful when you look at it and you see you put the two images beside each other of her as a little girl and this person who could be her now. Mm-hmm. So we're going to explore. We're going to keep it in the news as well. So this happened in July. This big release of this information. We're going to chat a little bit deeper today. Melissa Laschuk was a close friend of Nicole, childhood friend. They lived in the same apartment building. They walked to school together every day. They hung out in the summertime in that apartment. She went on to become a Toronto police officer, interestingly enough. And she's going to join us to talk about the case, as well as Amanda Pick, who is with the Missing Children Society of Canada, just to talk about how these cases can sometimes take this long and sort of what goes into what you can do when a case is this cold.
Right.
I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation and hopefully keeps the issue in the news.
Toronto police are once again asking the public to help them finally solve one of the country's highest profile mysteries. On July 30th, 1985, 40 years ago, 8-year-old Nicole Morin left her top floor apartment in Etobicoke for a swim and was never seen from again. To mark the 40th anniversary of her disappearance, police are offering a $50,000 reward for information and have released a composite drawing of what she might look like today. Joining us tonight on the show to talk about the case is Melissa Laschuk, a childhood friend of Nicole's, and Amanda Pick, the CEO of the Missing Children Society of Canada, a nonprofit organization that uses technology and community engagement to help locate missing children in Canada. Welcome to you both for joining us tonight on A Closer Look. Melissa, if we can, I'm going to start with you. As a little girl, you were Nicole's best friend. Tell us about the Nicole that you knew.
She was fantastic. We lived in the same apartment building, and her mother looked after my little brother, and she and I were only a year apart, so we spent a lot of time together, and we used to walk to school together every day, and our summers were filled with swimming in the pool, hanging out front of the condominium, and just really enjoying each other's company. She was at that point, like a sister that I didn't have. I only had one brother at that time.
All right, let's go back to July 30th, 1985. You were on vacation. Do you remember coming home and hearing the news that your best friend was missing?
Yes, I do. My mom was careful to be the one to let me know. I think she didn't really want me to hear it in the media. She didn't want to scare me. So she explained what happened. And obviously I was quite sad. and I was hopeful at the time that we would find something that would bring her home to us.
Mm-hmm. At the time, Melissa, this would have been the biggest missing person investigation, the biggest investigation in Toronto police history. I believe I've read it's 20-member task force. They ended up investing more than 25,000 hours following up leads. As a little girl yourself at that time, do you remember that event? Do you remember seeing all the police officers around? What was going through your mind as a little girl watching that?
Yeah, I don't think I really had full comprehension at the time. I mean, I was 7. I did see a lot of police around. Obviously people were talking about it. And certainly when I went back to school in September, it was still a very, topic of conversation. It was right at the forefront.
Amanda, I'd like to bring you into the conversation as well. Thank you. I know you can't speak to specific police investigations, this one included, but in general, when a child goes missing, how important are those initial few hours in an investigation like this?
I think that they're critical, absolutely. And we know that based on locating safely children and the tragic circumstances that happen when they're not located safely. So those first few hours are critical, and that's why it's so important to engage the community right away.
Melissa, sadly, the police never found a single piece of physical evidence related to Nicole's disappearance. What do we know for sure? I believe a witness told police that they saw Nicole in the lobby, which means she made it to at least down the elevator, but nothing after that. Is that correct?
As far as I know, that's pretty close. I think there was there was a media release with respect to finding a blue hairband as well, if I remember correctly. But it was certainly not uncommon for us to be alone in the lobby. We would often meet there before going swimming. And it was not uncommon at that time. Certainly kids didn't go missing every day at that point. So there really wasn't any trepidation, I think, on the part of parents to allow their kids at that age to meet up in lobbies or out front or by the pool. And certainly my parents didn't have any issue with it.
Absolutely. 1985 is kind of a whole different time when you really think about it. No, I assume no cameras or anything like that in the building either, Melissa?
There had been cameras installed and they just were not operational yet.
Oh my goodness. So literally days away from being operational, I assume?
I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure on the date.
That's okay. This is probably a question you've been asked a lot, Melissa. It's been 40 years that this case has been going on. It's obviously still something very close to your heart. How often do you think about Nicole in this case?
Oh, all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time. Little things will remind me of her. Certainly when I'm in the area, I'm reminded of her. It's never far from my mind.
Amanda, is there another case that you can compare this to in terms of the length that someone has been missing and the fact that there's been efforts to keep it in the public domain the way this one has? Are there other cases like this in Canada?
I mean, I think, one case, and there are other cases, but one case that comes to mind is Michael Dunahee. Mm-hmm. I think that when we look at missing children cases by stranger abduction, it is one of the polarizing moments that captures community, a country's attention. Mm-hmm. So thankfully, stranger abductions are rare in Canada, just compared to the statistics of how many children go missing each year. But having said that, when you look at the time of, the 40-year anniversary, it's thankfully rare. Other cases, Lindsay Nichols in BC just is over 30 years now. So there are a few cases that I think as Canadians stick in our memory, but certainly Nicole's case is rare.
40 years is an awfully long time. Melissa, were there moments when you thought maybe there's a breakthrough?
There have been a lot of tips over the years, and certainly with the help of the media to continue to keep Nicole top of mind. I think people generally want to be helpful. And when they think of something, I've had people reach out directly to me to provide information, and certainly to the police. And I know that the police do follow up on every single lead that is provided. So I have been hopeful several times, and I still am hopeful because I know the missing piece is out there. I know that somebody knows. And so I'm going to continue to be hopeful that there will be closure one day.
Melissa, you went on to become a police officer. Did what you went through as a child and losing your friend like this, did that have anything to do with your motivation to become a police officer?
I'm not sure I would say that it was the catalyst, but it certainly informed how I approached certain investigations, and certainly the relationships and rapport that I would build with family members. I did have occasion to investigate a lot of very serious, cases that involve death, and certainly having that lived experience and being able to identify with families in a way that perhaps others don't have, that insight for, was helpful.
Absolutely.
And I was very proud to be a member of the Toronto Police Service.
Amanda, obviously this case is cold, but it's definitely not closed. It's still in the public's mind. And as Melissa talked about, there's still people still hold out hope that there might be that one clue, someone will come forward. How do people hold out hope after 40 years, I guess is my question for someone in your shoes. You deal with these cases all the time. What's your message to people who say there's no way we're going to have anything happen positive in this case?
Well, I'd ask people to keep positivity and hope at the forefront of this. The first thing that I hear consistently, and certainly I'm sure Melissa can attest to this through her own experience as well as TPS member, but when you talk to families of missing children, one of the things that they say is often, countless times perhaps, people say to them, I can't even imagine. And I can tell you, even in my own role at this organization, I've been serving children, families, and partnering with police for over 15 years. We're 40 years as an organization. And I think countless is the perfect way to try and recognize how many times that's said. I can't even imagine. So the one thing that I ask people to do that is uncomfortable for them is to imagine, because that is the way that they can feel that. Talk to any parent, they will say, if I lost my child at the playground for 5 minutes, or I turned around the grocery store, I'll never forget that feeling. Well, our families live with that feeling every day. And I have watched our families in a period of 24 hours, perhaps, have hope and then lose hope, have hope and then lose hope. And that is very common. But what I have seen in my work and in the work of supporting these cases is absolutely stunning as it relates to investigations that safely locate a missing child after a considerable amount of time. We worked on a case, that child had been missing for 31 years, and that child was located successfully. And so there is, and you look at cases globally where the same results have happened on these long-term cases, hope is critical because hope matters in community participation, in supporting families and ongoing investigations. But when you eliminate hope, you therefore don't become active in that search anymore. And that's not what we need. We need hope to fuel and be the momentum to find missing kids. And I don't believe that there's a reality that's not possible of finding Nicole Sleafy. We've seen it. So we don't spend time as an organization really looking at, like you said, that first kind of, long-term, what is long-term? How long is too long for a missing child to be found? I'd say there's no amount of time that we should stop looking. And quite frankly, we've seen incredible things happen when people remain vigilant.
Amanda, I want to stay with you if I can for a sec. If there's a person listening to this show or watching this show right now who knows something, what is your message to them?
What we understand on long-term cases is that when time goes by, people have the time to reflect and ask themselves, what is the right thing to do in this situation? One thing that we say is perhaps it is people say, well, I didn't think it mattered. It was a small piece of information. If this was your child, or if you just need to do the right thing, do it, period. This is an 8-year-old little girl. There is no reality that looks like a piece of information or that kind of soul reflection of providing that piece that TPS can use to get answers and safely locate Nicole, which we believe is still possible. I don't think I have the right words, but what I would say is, please, she was 8. She deserves this.
Melissa, I want to ask you the same question. What would you say to someone who might be listening today who has a piece of information that could help crack this case?
Just that I'm sure that it's been sitting with you for a very, very long time. Have the courage to come forward. Have the courage to give us that missing piece of the puzzle so that we can have some closure. You know, I truly loved the 8-year-old Nicole. I would give anything to meet the 48-year-old Nicole. And if you think you're her, if you don't know your past, you know, please come forward. Please reach out to the Toronto Police, you know, Crime Stoppers. There's any number of organizations that you can reach out to that will help you. We do have ways of determining whether or not you are. And I just think for the person that has information, the amount of relief that you're going to feel in coming forward and the amount of relief that you're going to provide is immeasurable.
Melissa, this is tough for me to ask, and I'm sure will be 10 times tougher for you to answer. Do you think she's still alive?
I've never lost hope that she is. You know, is it possible that she's not? Yeah, it's possible. But I would rather know. I would rather know one way or another if she is or she's not. But I'm going to keep hoping that she is. I'm going to keep hoping that she's out there and she just doesn't know.
As you both said, hope is so important in a case like this. That's a key thing to have. We did see the Toronto Police announce a new $50,000 reward. I want to start with that. Yeah. Maybe Amanda, I'll pass it to you. Do these rewards tend to work in a case like this? Are they helpful? Does it end up being a financial incentive for people to come forward in a case like this?
I think that they have proven a successful tool, but it doesn't mean that it's required in a case either, right? So I think that this reward could incentivize somebody to move forward and take action and provide that key piece of information. Or I think, as Melissa said, it's time to be brave. And if the $50,000 is a tool in any way, shape, or form, or it incentivizes somebody who knows something and has answers, then, that's important. It's not always the tool that provides the opportunity to locate successfully, but we've certainly seen it be an impactful tool, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Melissa, I want to ask you about the image that was released by the Toronto Police as well, sort of what they think Nicole might look like today at age 48, as you said. What was it like for you to see that image for the first time? Did you see your old friend in that image?
Yeah, I mean, the people at Toronto Police do such a great job of putting, profiles together like that, and certainly that could be how she looks now, and I do see the resemblance for sure.
If Nicole is somehow listening or watching this interview, Melissa, what would you want to say to her?
Just, I hope you're okay. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're happy. Maybe you've got your own family now, but I think it would be so great to find out. If you don't know who you are, obviously, I think it'd be really great to find out, your past and just bring closure to an awful lot of people, because it's actually not just me. It's not just Nicole's dad. It's not just Amanda and her colleagues. It's the whole city of Toronto. Mm-hmm. Honestly, everybody was so invested, and really beyond. Everybody was very invested in this, and I don't think there's one person that doesn't want to see her again.
Absolutely. This is such an important conversation. We really appreciate you both coming on to have this conversation with us. I want to leave with this last question to both of you. I'll start with you, Amanda. Is there anything we didn't touch upon that people should know about this case or about missing children in general that you think they should know about and be thinking about today?
I think it's important for people to understand that there is missing children across this country and they can make a difference. We want them to take part in the search. Without them finding missing children, vulnerable adults, it is incredibly difficult. So they're a critical piece of this. Over 30,000 children were reported missing in Canada in 2024. Every time I hear that statistic, I am shocked. And I do this work every day. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, most of those children will be found safely. But what we know is when you're missing, you are not in a safe place. And we all understand the amount of risk that's there. So whether a child is missing for a day or for 40 years, we have a role to play. Every single community member can make a difference. And in fact, without them, this becomes a completely challenging and overwhelming task. Nobody wants to see children vulnerable and hurt and susceptible to risk that changes their lives forever. So because of that, I'd ask you to get involved, be ready when Toronto Police Service and other police services across Ontario and across the country need that help. Be ready for that. And all you have to do is be eyes and ears in your own community. MCSC has provided that opportunity in partnership with Toronto Police Service, and all they have to do is take a few minutes of your day and join the search through MCSC Rescue. And I think you can have a powerful role in protecting children across this country.
Melissa, final word to you. Any closing thoughts?
I would just say that if you're a person that has struggled with whether or not you should reveal this information for a long time, there could be any number of reasons, any number of situations that have really prevented you from coming forward. I would say don't let the fear of what may happen drive you to come forward. Let it motivate you instead. And really, this applies to any case, not just the Nicole Morin case, but really put yourself in that position and think, wouldn't you move heaven and earth if this was your child, your sister, your brother, your cousin? You would. And we're just asking you to really have that mindset and come forward with any information that you have, even if you think it's insignificant.
All right, well said. There's Melissa Laschuk, a childhood friend of Nicole Morin, and Amanda Pick, the CEO of the Missing Children Society of Canada. Thanks to you both for this important conversation and your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
I still cannot believe that it has been 40 years.
Yeah, that case.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, we've heard about it our whole lives. And when I was doing a little bit of reading, just refreshing my memory on some things, she was born in 1977, so she's a year younger than me.
Right.
And we would have been in elementary school at the same time, one grade apart. And I do remember all those anniversaries where it was the 20-year anniversary,
yes,
and there was new things coming out about the case. And, we were talking before we went on, too, just about cold cases. And just be clear, this is a cold case because there hasn't been some new clues, but it's definitely not closed. It's an open investigation. Toronto police continue to take tips. But you do see sometimes endings, as Amanda alluded to, after so many years.
Yep.
You think of the Elizabeth Smart case in the United States, right? It wasn't that many years, but nobody, at least, people who don't know anything, didn't believe she was ever going to be found. She was found.
That's right.
There are cases where that happens, and sometimes, as Melissa alluded to as well, it's that you've held on to this secret for so long. You might know something. Maybe it was someone you knew. It was a relative. Maybe it was your partner who did this, and you've held on to the secret for so long. But maybe they've died. And so now you're willing to come forward.
And when Amanda made that point that some people may respond, well, I didn't think it was important. I wonder if that answer is utilized more often than we would think.
Oh, it is. And I'm talking in all kinds of police investigations, I think. And you often hear the police say that. You might think we know this already, or you might think that it's not important. But to us, it's that missing piece of this puzzle that we're putting together.
Right.
So, yeah, it's definitely worth, putting that message out there again. it's a little bit just having watched the news reports of it at the time of that event on the 30th. There was one woman interviewed who was crying. She'd lived in the building for 50 years. And so she knew the little girls at the time, and she's so hopeful. And you could see how emotional it was for Melissa as well, just having that connection to Nicole. I think it was really powerful when she said, I knew her when she was 8. Yeah. I'd love to meet her at 48, which is a pretty amazing thing. So, these are the kind of conversations we try to have on this podcast all the time. We talk about big stories that are in the news, important stories. This is definitely one of them. If we can do our little part in keeping it out in the public domain and having people think about this case, and you never know what can happen. This is kind of day one of the relaunch. We have a lot more to come. And we hope you'll join us. Including Friday, U.S. Ambassador to Canada Pete Hoekstra will be on the show. That's right. That's going to be a great watch. That'll be a great watch as well. All right, Closer Look podcast.ca is our brand new website. Subscribe to our newsletter. We will send new episodes direct to your inbox, and subscribe on YouTube, if you will, at Closer Look Podcast. For Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media, I'm Scott Sexsmith. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.